Hello, everyone. It is Rory here at that Eurovision site, Eurovision with a Slice of Life. I'm joined by the lovely Molly today. How are you doing?
I am doing good. It is hot.
Yes, yes. The European summer heat waves of 2026 are impacting us all, to be honest. But yes, in this video, we are going to be kind of delving a little bit into our thoughts on the non-qualifiers from this year's Eurovision Song Contest and sort of looking at sort of what went wrong and sort of what they could have done better to maybe inch themselves just to get over that line of qualification. And
Yeah.
we have some very interesting songs to talk about today, so I think we should just sort of get straight into it. So yes, so there were five countries who sadly did not make it into the final of Eurovision 2026 from semi-final one. They are Estonia, Portugal, Montenegro, San Marino, and Georgia. What we'll do, we'll go from the bottom to the top and sort of talk a little bit what we thought about each song, what they could have done to maybe improve the staging, what they could have done to maybe just get some more points just to get them into the final and what maybe the country can learn from this experience. So I think kind of just in general, just like kind of just a quick opening kind of thing. Semi-final one was quite a strong semi-final compared to the
Yeah.
it. So yeah, what did you make of it?
I think semi-final one was quite difficult to get through compared to semi-final two, because not only did you have Sweden, you had Greece, you had uh you had Moldova, you had Serbia, you had some really big hitters in this one.
Finland.
The Finland, yes. My brain forgot for a moment, but you had Finland as well. You had some really big ones that, made it kind of difficult for other countries to go, surprise, we're through now, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was a tough one to be honest. But I think in general, I think there wasn't too much of an upset. I think the main one that kind of caused a
Yeah,
bit of an upset was Belgium, to be honest. And I think a lot of people had been
yeah,
sort of surprised that she had managed to make it in because I think at least going into rehearsals on in terms for the fans, it was very, very like much she was like in the bottom,
yeah,
something like that to
exactly.
try and get that. So fair play to her for managing to get through. I have to say it's quite
Mm.
good. So, but yeah, so let's go then on to the sort of five countries, and we'll kick off on the bottom. So we'll talk about Georgia, which was obviously Bzikebi with on replay. Uh, I mean, what did you make of this show? Because the thing is,
I,
there was nothing like there was a lot going on, and it to me
yeah,
felt a little bit like disjointed.
it was too much. There was like too much happening. Like when I always talk about like staging, there is like a balance you need. Like sometimes I talk about a lot of countries not doing enough staging. This is an example of doing too much staging and too much like tone it down a little bit. Like this is a bit hyper. So like I didn't mind the song, but I think a lot of people it would throw people off, and then adding all the extra stuff into the staging just I think made things so much worse for them. I feel so. I think they needed to tone it down a little bit because the song was already quite energetic, and I think you don't need the staging to be so hyper as well if the song's already like that and the artists are already bringing the energy anyway in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think the main problem that I think Georgia had was the staging was just kind of tacky. I think it was very
Yeah.
like, a lot of the on-screen graphics were very like, why are we
Mm.
going with this direction of like,
Yeah, what are
yes, we're
we
in the
doing?
future, and they're also sort of dancing, doing the same thing at the
Uh,
same time. I think, and it didn't also help that Bzikebi were all by themselves on stage. I think it
yeah,
like a
no.
song like that, you need to have a lot more to it than just the
Yeah,
singers
like
on stage.
if you look back at, I'm going to do a national final comparison. Ramtai from Supernova, they had like all the people in costumes around them, and they had like sort of a very, very similar to sort of Zikebi in that sense, but they had like loads of dancers. And if you think of other songs in Eurovision as well that have a similar vibe, they tend to sort of have loads of dancers, loads of the Ukrainian one, I can't remember the name. From Go
There's
Away, Go Away.
Shum.
Yeah, yeah, Shum has a very similar high energy type thing that had like big staging, like a big set and like the big LEDs and things like that. The staging sort of carried with the energy of the song. And also again more dancers, whereas in this case it was kind of lacking in that sense.
I think the thing is that it felt very much that the song was meant to do more commercially well. And
Yeah,
I think a lot of people, I mean, we saw anyway in the run up to the show that like that Bzikebi and mostly Georgie, to be fair, he was like pushing the kind of the dance routine of it, like the kind of the
yeah,
TikTok dance of it. And in a way, they had some good elements of that, but you need to build on it and you need to expand on
yeah,
that. You know, like
exactly.
a TikTok dance is not going to work on a Eurovision stage
Mm,
just by itself. It needs to
yeah,
be bigger than this, and it needed a lot more of a punch. It needed to envelop the stage a little bit more. Because
yeah,
I would
exactly.
almost disagree that you had said that like, oh, there was almost too much stuff going on. I think
Yeah,
there was enough stuff going on. I just think that the stuff that was being done was just not to the same quality.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah. But like, what would you say they could have done instead then in order to try to at least push themselves off the very bottom of the scoreboard?
I think maybe sort of have some more dancers, sort of have some more like people there. Maybe like instead of I don't know, I can't remember if there was like an overuse of LEDs in this one, kind of make it more sort of carry that energy, but not too much in a sense. Don't overcrowd the staging, but also meet that balance in a sense.
I mean, for me, I would have said that it needed to be a completely different kind of
Yeah.
vision. I think it needed to be a
It would need
completely different
different
vision.
staging.
Well,
Yeah, no, I
not
agree.
even they're not even different staging. I just think it needed to be a higher quality. I think it just
Yeah.
like there were some elements of something like because it did have maybe some elements of a
Mm.
futuristic style, but like you also needed to make it palatable. And I feel like there
Yeah,
was like
exactly.
you had like the group in these really bright yellow outfits, which obviously was harking back to the Junior Eurovision win, but
Yeah.
also like the color palette was just not mixing. There was a lot of
Yeah.
other stuff that was happening, and then the over like the kind of the corny use of what was being said, like the thing on the LED screens. I think it was just a little bit too much. Like
Yeah.
I would think it was just they had elements of there, but it just needed to really just be pushed up. And then also their vocals were also suffering a little bit as well. Like it
Yeah.
was very obvious that Georgie's vocals were kind of more dominant than the others as well. So when he
Yeah.
messed something up, then it meant everyone could hear it. So
Yeah,
I
no,
think
definitely.
yeah, Georgia really needs to have a large look at itself and just think like what's going on because qualification is definitely possible. It just
Yeah,
needs to be
exactly. It
with
just
a
needs
good
a little that
package.
extra. Yeah.
So yeah. So yes, so moving on from Georgia, let us talk about San Marino, and that is
Oh
obviously
boy.
Senhit and the legendary Boy George
Boy
with
George.
with Superstar. I have to admit,
Oh
I'm
boy.
surprised that this did not come last, to be honest.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, what did you think of it?
I think it would have, and I'm sorry to the Boy George fans. I know it would be better without him. I think the staging was a bit too how do I sorry San Marino, but like you said about Bzikebi, tacky. It was a little much. And I think also having Boy George there as well, he didn't really contribute much to the song apart from like what one verse. And it didn't really feel like it made much of an impact at the end of the day. So I feel like if it had like the difference between Adrenalina and this is that Adrenalina felt more like unique and felt more like Senhit and like her. This does not feel like Senhit. It doesn't feel like it has her style, and it doesn't. It feels generic in a lot of cases, and I think they were trying to really go for like that pop hitty kind of chart thing. It just didn't really. I think for a lot of people, it felt like dated. The staging was just too much in a lot of cases.
I mean, yes. I think the thing is that they were going for the disco style because everything
Yeah,
was disco. Like the song is disco when you think about it. Like it's mid
yeah,
stage disco. So obviously, it's still a little bit like contemporary to a certain degree. But like even then, like it was still just I mean I think most people thought it was dead in the water anyway to begin with.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
not to say that like I mean Senhit has proven that you like she's a good singer
Yeah,
and no
no,
denying that she's a good singer. But I think the fact that well first of all the entire controversy of around the entire selection being changed so that the big artists could go in including Senhit and Boy George.
yeah,
I think that didn't help. And then also
no.
then the um kind of just in general her like the vibe of just everything, it just felt very
Oh,
no, it like how you said it felt a little bit tacky, but like
yeah,
it like there was a lot of silver, there was a lot of glitz and glamour, which obviously when you really read the lyrics of the song, it makes sense that it is kind of like that.
yeah,
But also at the same time, it does need to be cohesive. And it like I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like I was tapping my foot a little bit when it was coming on, but
yeah,
like I wouldn't go out of my way to listen
no.
to it after Eurovision. Like it's not a song that I'm th saying, "Oh my God, I need to listen to Superstar again,"
I
because
need to listen to
you know,
Superstar. Yeah,
yeah, like and I think I mean the inclusion of Boy George anyway was a choice,
yeah.
given the allegations. But I also think that like he was really only just kind of brought in for the sake of name
There
recognition
was
as well.
I feel
Like,
like there was a lack of energy behind what he put in as well. It's kind of like I don't want to be here. I'm here for 5 seconds and I'm gonna leave after this kind of
well, to be
vibe
honest,
with him. That's what I got.
I would actually say that it was the opposite effect. I think he was very happy to just show up for like 20
Mm,
seconds or something like that and then just not like he it wasn't necessarily he was like, you know, jumping from one side of the stage to the other or anything like that. He sat on a chair, walked
mm,
maybe half the stage and then that was about it. And I think for him that was
yeah,
enough.
yeah,
And it's very obvious that after Eurovision, he's had nothing to do with Senhit after this. You know what I mean? Like the
yeah,
entire, like the AI music video for the song, he wasn't even in it. Like it's just very obvious that he just showed up for the gig and that was it.
yeah,
So I think if like there's something for San Marino again, just one thing I just beg, please do not change the format at the last minute just for the sake
yeah.
of
No,
a big name.
exactly.
Like we had
Yeah,
this come in for 2022 with Aquila Lauro. We had it again for obviously this year. And then in 2024, I believe, yes,
mm,
2024, like they changed it again for the same situation. And it's just
yeah.
you want to rig your selection so much, just ditch the selection
Just
very
go
early on and just
internal.
approach
Yeah,
someone after San Remo or something like that, and then just say, look, we'll just go with you
yeah,
instead, you know? Like it's very obviously it's a bit kind of a dick move, but
yeah. It
you were also like Greece and Cyprus have done the same thing, and France and Monaco we were doing the same thing anyway back in the day as well. So, you know.
exactly. Or just go like internal. If you have somebody in mind, then don't put them through a national selection and just go internal. In my personal opinion, I think if they want to have a specific artist for next year, they should start looking internally instead of just putting on a national selection. It just makes more sense in
Mhm.
that way. And it comes off less like, oh, okay, all right then. It becomes not shady, but it feels less insulting to audiences watching it, and people may like feel more fondness towards the whatever song is done if if they prefer to do that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see how they kind of play how they play it now
Yeah.
next year. I mean, we know that the San Marino Song Contest is being brought back again, so who knows how they're going to change it again in the midst of the actual selection going on. I'm sure that
I
the
think
song itself, like the actual competition, will be starting in about 2 weeks' time, at least by the time that this goes out. So who knows? Uh,
they need to start trusting the artists they have at the national final if they're doing national finals, and trust the general public in San Marino, because it feels like there's such a disconnect between there's such a lack of trust there with putting on a national final for the audience watching it. I
mm,
feel when it comes to San Marino.
yeah, yeah. Well. We'll see how that kind of plays out for 2027. But I mean, at least San Marino is giving us something interesting to talk about yet again. So
Yeah,
that's always
exactly.
fun. So, yes. So, right, 13th place now. We're talking Montenegro with Tamara Živković with Nova Zora.
Oh, this hurts.
Yeah, yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head here. I think most people were really hoping that Montenegro would break its non-qualification streak
Yeah.
and make it in. I'm now looking back on it, like going into recording this video, like I watched all of the the shows and the performances again. And the one thing that I think kind of might have put people off, well, like at least in terms of the show, like on the actual like the televote, like the live show performance was just I think the style of her just kind of being a little bit of a demented monster, I think might have put some
Yeah,
people off.
no.
Like for me, like the song like the lyrics of the song have nothing to do with this kind of monster who's coming
Yeah,
out or anything like that. Like it's a thing of like perseverance and also just like a new dawn has risen. It's a time for women
yeah.
to stand up for themselves. Why are we tying that to a weird kind of monster
Yeah, no,
character
exactly.
thing? You know?
I think for me it was to do with, I know that there was some like vocal hiccups and things like that in the live performance itself. And also some the staging felt like when it transferred, it felt so small, and like there wasn't enough to it when it came to the performance. I would have loved to see more like backdrop, more like sets around this, more sort of like they could have done something really creative with this. I just think they just didn't for this one, compared to what they did in the national final. I think if they added some more maybe creative staging, it would have been quite interesting, instead of just sort of the back of the dancers and the things like that. And it's I don't know, the revamp could have done it as well, because I don't mind the revamp. I know some people were a bit iffy about that one. So it could have been also that got people a bit like, no.
Mm, I think the problem with Montenegro is that obviously it's a small country, and with a small
Yeah,
country you have a small budget. So
yeah,
and immediately after winning Montesong, I mean Tamara said that like very little was going to change when it came from like the adaptation from Montesong to Vienna. So I think
yeah,
that didn't put it in a good stead already. Um, I mean, they did change some things to do with with the outfits and stuff, which I think was a good start. But I think they really need to, if they want to have a good option of like really making it in, because the fact that last year, for example, in Basel, I mean, Montenegro finished dead last, and now they
yeah.
finished 13th. So like, it is possible that people
It
can
is.
vote for them, and people do want
Mm.
to vote for them. They just need to get a really cohesive package that just to get people in, you know. I think the actual song itself was not that bad, but you are right in saying like in the jury
Yeah,
show it was very, very poor. Like her vocals were very poor, but she also was suffering as well. She was
yeah.
also
No, that
sick
is
at that
true.
point. So that didn't like it doesn't help when
Yeah,
the artists are sick because then obviously
no,
their
exactly.
possibility of reaching the high notes and stuff are just
Mm,
especially when that's their moment. They need to try and sell
mm.
this song in order to keep
Yeah,
impress
exactly.
to vote for them. If they're not getting those notes, then you're kind of like, well, why should I vote for you and
Yeah.
stuff. Um, and so yeah, I mean, things to change. I mean, okay, this is obviously not something that RTCG could change, but it's
Mm.
more of the fact that she should have been put last in the running order. I think that would have been a lot of a thing. I think a lot of fans were really hoping that they would have come last in the running order instead of Serbia. I understand why they would have done it after Finland, but the
Yeah.
problem is that when you have such a big fan favorite there,
Yeah,
whoever's going to come
exactly.
after that is going to suffer.
Oh
So
no, exactly. I think if you placed it with Serbia as well, you would have had like a rock kind of one after another. So it that can either do really well or really badly. Because if you have rock and rock, then sometimes they can kind of be a bit compared to each other and kind of fight each other. It's like what you had, the problem Montenegro had a previous one where you had Serbia who had a ballad, a Balkan ballad, and then you had Montenegro that had a Balkan ballad, and Serbia was the one that won out. You could have had that situation again. And that could have been the issue that happened this time as well. I think not so much, but you did have a lot of like rock heavy stuff. Like Nova Zora, you had Choke Me, you had Cry Minaj. I say that
Crymene.
right. Cry Minaj. And then you had this one, which were all kind of within a very similar sort of space. They weren't the same as each other, but they kind of shared a very similar sort of style,
Yeah, I
which
think the only
could
one that
have
I would
done it.
struggle with was Crymene because I mean Choke Me
Yeah,
was in semi-final too, so it didn't have that much
yeah. Oh,
of
that's
a place.
true. Yeah.
But still, like I think wherever it was going to land, it was going to have a bit of a tough gig. But
Mm,
I think going forward, I think this should kind of inspire Montenegro a little bit because they know
yeah.
that they're not like even though it's like still a non-qualification, there's still a push in that right direction.
Yeah,
I
exactly. Yeah.
I think now I don't know, come back to me next year when they either qualify or they don't, but like I have a feeling this is going to turn into a little bit of the Czechia situation where
That's what I
after
think so
years of
too.
going
Yeah.
back, after years of staying out, they come back, they don't qualify again, but they realize that they're not dead last in a way, and so therefore it
Yeah.
kind of continues and it pushes them to keep going. And then next year they'll qualify. Maybe they won't do too well, but I think for them it's just the fact that they're even in the final. I think for
Yeah.
them that's the win. They don't care about that
Yeah,
because they want to
exactly.
show their culture, their music for the sake of like nearly 130 million people, right?
Yeah.
And I think like Montesong in the last couple of years it has really shown varying sides of Montenegrin music. It's
I
not
think
just
Montesong is kind of at that level that Moldova was in sort of like previously. Moldova came in this year hitting as they revamped their national final. I think Montesong is doing that, but a bit in a slower progression. So I think we're really going to start to get Moldova's national, not Moldova,
Montenegro.
Montenegro's national final hitting at some point. It's just they're getting there. They just need a little bit of time and a little bit of being too not mature, but it to sort of hit its stride a little bit and then be able to get a style that works for them in a sense, a national final that really does work for that country. Because if a country as small as Moldova can do it, then I feel like Montenegro definitely can. I think Moldova has kind of been something that's really been a wake up call and it will start to be a thing for other countries as well, including Montenegro.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And I think also the fact that Montenegro isn't automatically sort of relying on other Balkan nations like
Oh yeah.
Croatia and Serbia also to try and get them through. I mean, obviously they did get votes
Mm-hmm.
from them, but they weren't trying to deliberately target that
Yeah.
audience. I think that maybe that could also be something to be investigated. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
the only two times that Montenegro have qualified have been when they've sent Balkan ballads. So
Yeah.
maybe it could be a similar thing, but you obviously need to read the room of what is
Mm.
popular at that time.
I
So
think when it comes to the whole Balkan ballad thing and them sending it, Balkan ballads are really popular within Eurovision, so that's kind of something that can either do really well or could shoot you in the foot in a lot of cases. I think them going in the sort of unique sort of way is probably the best bet for them, in my opinion. Sort of going down the sort of a national final that has very different genres of music. We had that this year. We had pop, we had Balkan ballads, we had like normal ballads, we had like sort of like this one, which was more sort of like rocky kind of rock pop, rocky kind of song. And then maybe we'll see techno next year. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, that would be an interesting thing. Montenegrin techno DJs, this is your time to call. Um, but yes, talking about sort of uniqueness, I mean, let's go on to the next one then, which is Portugal. First time they've not
Yes.
qualified now since 2019. I mean, what did you make of the song and everything in general?
We have to also keep in mind that the Portugal national selection went through a lot this year when it comes to this song, and I think that's one thing to really keep in mind as a pin that we just put in the board. It was very much Portugal, very slow, very but it felt, and I'm sorry, boring. It didn't feel like it had that sort of cultural element, that sort of flavor that past Portugal entrants have had. Like if you think of Brito, like that sort of beautiful sort of Portugal ballad, this one just didn't really have that flavor to it that I felt that past ones have had, and also staging as well wasn't that great. To be
Yeah, I
honest.
think I think the staging was really the kind of thing to let this down. I think when you have a song like this that's really quite slow and intimate and stuff like that, it
Mm,
is very hard to stage because you're not really giving much. You're not getting much
yeah,
to stage, if you know what I mean. I think they still gave a very like solid performance. The harmonies were all
yeah,
fine. There was nothing wrong in terms for that kind of thing. And I mean, it still did very well. I mean, it still came 12th with
yeah.
74 points. Like, it was only 3 points uh like off Montenegro and then obviously 5 points off from Estonia. But like it was still like it was still one of the ones that people were
Yeah,
considering, which is obviously clear. Um, I think that this was also a victim of the running order, I think. It didn't help
yeah,
that there was much in the way of fan hype to begin with it, but then once you've been slapped in
yeah,
the midst of, Greece and also then Georgia, like where there's
yeah,
two
exactly.
huge sort of in your face, big tempo kind of songs, to have something really slow and really stuff like that, it
It
will catch people off
feels
guard.
abrupt.
Yeah, it will
Yeah,
catch people off guard. And I think for some people, when you've been pelted with so much like up-tempo songs and so much like in your face, boom, 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 to have something smaller and slower and intimate, it will attract people, you know.
mm,
I think in general, like how you said, the national final had a lot more sort of songs that would have been better suited. But
yeah,
given the situation regarding the artist boycott that was going on at the time, and I think also a bit of a protest vote will also in terms from
yeah,
the actual
exactly.
acts and stuff, like not from the acts, the public in Portugal, I think it was very obvious that this was going to go regardless. So
Yeah,
I'm I'm not surprised that this went, and I don't think you could really change anything based on the
yeah,
selection. I think the only thing you would need to do, if I was RTP, I would obviously like it really depends on how committed the broadcaster is now to Eurovision after this, because for them, Festival de Canção is more important than Eurovision because
yeah,
it's
no.
so like there's no point if you feel like your national musical style is more at jeopardy because of Eurovision,
Mm,
then pull
yeah,
out. I think that's likely
yeah,
what's going to happen.
exactly.
So
Yeah. It's
so
kind of
yeah.
like have it as a like Benidorm fest type thing,
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, the fact that it wasn't immediately like slipping out
Yeah.
immediately last place like how a lot of people thought it would. I think that's quite
Mm.
nice as well because it still shows that people are still underestimating Portugal in,
They
in a way. So, Yeah.
I see it as two ways. They're either going to do a thing where they're like, right, we'll go back in next year, see how our song goes, and if it doesn't do well again, we'll pull out, or they're going to do like a right, we're just going to go. I kind of see it as a double two things. I know countries that haven't done well for years go back in, they do one more go, and then when they've not done well, they've then pulled out after that as like a sort of they've done like a sort of test run type thing before.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, this is their first non-qualification since
Yeah,
2019. So, like, it was going to end some way or another, but
yeah,
it just
exactly.
ended up being this year. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, sure, who knows? RTP could be privatized by the end of this year, which means that
True.
their entire Eurovision
I
participation could be in jeopardy at that point. So,
Yeah,
who?
exactly. I personally think that if they can, they should do it one last time because this is the only non-qualification they've had in a while. I think they should do it one last time and then see how it goes. And if it doesn't go well, then decide what you want to do after that.
Yeah,
So I think I can understand pulling out after one non-qualification, but I think giving it another try sounds quite like okay, let's
yeah.
see if this is an ongoing trend.
Yeah. So yeah, one last one obviously now here, and that is obviously Estonia, who obviously finished in 11th place with Vanilla Ninja and Too Epic to Be True, or as me and my partner call it, Too Epic to Be Q, because obviously it didn't qualify. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, this still was shocking that this finished in 11th place because again, a lot of people
Yeah.
had written this off. So I mean, in a nutshell, I mean, what did you think of the song and everything?
I written it off really quickly. I'm surprised it placed where it did. It felt I think the staging was good, but I think the issue this time was the song itself more than anything. It felt like really dated in a lot of sense. It didn't really feel very Eurovision-y, and I think it really felt after the year before, it felt quite disappointing that Estonia had sent the quality that they did. I think, they could have done a lot better. I think Vanilla Ninja could have still gone in, but with a different song, I think it should have been in this case.
I mean, the thing is that Vanilla Ninja were going to win Ace Dilal regardless of the
Yeah.
situation because I mean they had such a big name behind them. But like
Mm,
also, um, I think in general the show was fine. I think they
yeah.
they staged what they could very well,
Yeah.
and I think they delivered it all very well. I think there was nothing wrong with the song and the presentation. I
Mm,
think it was just a lot of people hadn't initially expected it to do so well. And I think if it
yeah,
had a
that
little
as
more hype
well.
behind it, I think it probably would have
Mm,
just gotten over, you know? So yeah, it's hard. It's hard as well, like how you said, especially
yeah.
coming after Tommy Cash, because Tommy Cash being like such a high, like third
Yeah,
placer,
it
go from a third
I
place to not
do
even
feel
qualifying.
bad for Estonia. They did have a really high bar to sort of hit. But I think with this one it was a bit more like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I think it felt very out of left field for Estonia and what they had said. Even like before Tommy Cash, they sent very like weird, energetic kind of songs. It felt like they were like pull up, I think. They started to have like this interesting style coming in, and then they send Vanilla Ninja. It's very out of left field, and I guess for a lot of people that usually either like Estonia, like what Estonia was sending, it probably felt quite jarring. That's kind of how I see it a little bit.
Mm,
But also people who, it didn't. I think it did hit some people. Some people really liked it. It was kind of a very nostalgic sort of early 2000s type rock thing, but I feel like it just wouldn't appeal to a lot of people in that sense. It didn't have that broader appeal that's needed within Eurovision, I feel.
yeah. It's tough because I mean that was their heyday, the 2000s and stuff, and sure that's why they did
Yeah,
Europe back in 2005. So, like it was a thing. So, I think just the main thing for me just to quickly say for Estonia is just upkeep Ace stop it from being so commercialized, and please
yeah.
just have something a little bit more quirky in it, something a little bit more
Mm,
interesting because this Ace this year was too sterile. I didn't like
Yeah,
most of the songs. There was nothing in there that was it was just simple plain pop. I don't need that.
yeah.
It's Eurovision. Let's just go, you know.
Be
Um
unique kind of
yeah,
thing.
exactly. So yes, anyway, that is our sort of thoughts on semi-final one. Tell us what you think about the non-qualifications of semi-final one. Please do let us know in the comment section down below. It's really appreciated. Follow us on all of our social media. All of it is at That Euro site. Thank you so much to Molly for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. And thank you so much for watching, and we will see you so much in the next video. So thank you so much. We will see you later.